Hi, we're so glad that you're here, everybody, either watching live and here on the Zoom link with us or watching this replay later in our library of live workshops on TNT School. So today we're really excited to welcome Penelope. She is a first grade teacher. She's a teacher just like all of us here. We're either teachers or leaders or that's the whole foundation of Teachers Need Teachers, is that we are the ones who need to support each other and lift each other up, both professionally and personally at the same time. And so that's really the mission of Teachers Need Teachers. And these workshops are an opportunity for you at no cost at all to learn from your peers around the world. And that's what's really cool. It's really a global movement. I've actually been wanting to get a map up in Teachers Need Teachers where everyone can mark themselves, because we truly have people, all the way in New Zealand, in Europe, in the Middle East, in the United States, up in Canada, down, Latin America, South America. So we are well represented. So I think that's an incredible opportunity for all of us, because that global perspective and international mindedness makes us who we are, right? And these are our people. Like, TNT is here to connect you with your people who get it. I know I'm back in the States, and a lot of people just don't understand what happens when you move abroad or when you're in an international school, and how it can change your perspective and open up so many amazing opportunities that people have no idea exist. So TNT is really that collaborative global community. And these workshops are an important part of it. So I'm so glad that you could join us, and I'm so glad that you're watching this replay later. Let's hand it over to Penelope. She's a first grade teacher in Spain, and she's going to help us think about and talk about cooperative learning in our classrooms. Penelope,
Yeah.
welcome.
Hello. I'm very, very excited to be here. It's a great opportunity just to get to know you better and just to share with you the little experience I have with my children, because I think we all need to learn more and we all need to grow constantly. And that's what teachers need teachers do. So I'm just here to try and contribute a little, and maybe we can learn with each other and from each other, as I always say. So I'm trying just basically to share my experiences with my children. And today I'm going to focus on how to make students work in cooperation, cooperatively, and collaboratively. I'm just going to give a little presentation with theoretical and with practical examples. And that's it. And then we can have questions and answers if you want. I'm just going to share my screen and I will start the presentation. Okay, as you can see, the title is Empowering Students, because I don't think I'm teaching students and giving them the power to do things on their own. I'm just giving them the tools so they can learn by themselves, not from me, but by themselves, to make them global and independent learners. This is a word I'm going to use a lot, independence. And another word is going to be consistency, you'll see. The session online, more or less, is first, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to develop effective teaching, how to help students work cooperatively, to make them independent learners. And I'm going to use some theories, some backup from different books I'm using, from different authors. It's not like they are the Holy Grail or the Bible, but they are the ones that work for me. It's the same about the techniques I'm going to explain here. It's what works for me and what I have been adapting. But for different teachers, for different children in different countries, as you said, things work differently. So I'm just going to give you my examples and try to help you with them. Then in the second part, you will see cooperative learning in action. And I will show you by unpacking a unit of inquiry, because the school I work in is an international school. And we do the international baccalaureate, we do IB, PYP. And most of my units are based on cooperative group learning and group work. And then what we like, challenges, adaptations, questions, problems. And then finally, the conclusion, which is that cooperative learning is more than working with other children or working with other friends. It goes far from that. It's a deeper meaning. Okay, the first part, developing effective teaching through cooperative learning. This is like the boring stuff we all teachers have to learn before we unlearn it and we do what our children want, okay? So I'm just going to talk about the theory a little bit, just a little. I'm just going to just throw up in the air so they float along all the presentation, 2 questions. What is cooperative learning for you? And which words come to your mind when you think cooperation, cooperative learning, cooperative group work? I have here a little, I would say a little diagram that has some words: common goal setting, accountability, structure, student roles, active roles. But for example, if I think about cooperative learning, it also comes to my mind feedback, feed forward, learning power approach, inquiry-based learning. I don't know. If you think about it, maybe different things will come to your mind. So keep those in mind for the last part of the session. What is cooperative learning for you now? And if you have a different output after the session, and which words come to your mind now, maybe you can write them down. And then which words do you have after the session? I'm a lot into reflection, so I want to make it. Okay, the theoretical backup. Cooperative learning helps the students interact, as we all know, with their own knowledge and with the content in groups. That means they can share with others what they know and they can get from the other children what they don't know. It can be considered a maker strategy because it allows students to experience content from multiple perspectives, and it doesn't only facilitate knowledge development, but also makes them aware that they could not develop that knowledge without the help and interaction with their friends, which is something very important that we were talking about the other day. It's a lifelong skill. It's a lifelong learning that you cannot do things alone. You need other people to reach a goal. And this is something that cooperative learning teaches my students. And also cooperative learning, at least in my age group, which Sybil already said is PYP1, so they are 6. They are very small. It works much better in small groups. From 3 to 4 students will be the ideal number. This year, I'm having groups of 6 and 7. So, you know, the theory is not always the practice. It's working. It's taking me more energy and more coffee, but it's working. But from 3 to 4, it's the ideal number according to the art of science of teaching, which is one of the books I've used in the presentation. But, you know, we teachers face lots of challenges, and this is one of them. Then I have 2 posters from one of my favorite person in the world, which is Trevor Mackenzie, 2 of his sketch notes. I'm a fan. I don't mind saying it. I'm a big fan. And I just chose these 2 sketch notes for you to reflect and think a little bit more. One is the inquiry teacher, the mind of the inquiry teacher, and everything we must have inside, or we should have inside. And then my favorite sketch note, the one that rules my teaching, which is the types of student inquiry, and therefore the types of teacher role. When you are working cooperative learning, you must have very clear in mind the teacher role you have to be in your class. You have to represent in each moment of the development of your students. So, for example, at the beginning of the school year, of course, I will be a guide, a facilitator. I will do a structured inquiry. I will do controlled inquiry. then I can be more a guide than a facilitator or like a moderator, because I can do guided inquiry. And for me, it's impossible to do free inquiry because they are too small and it will be chaos, at least in my experience, because my children are non-native speakers. Some of them don't have lots of English. Some of them don't even have English or Spanish. They have another language and they have to learn either English or Spanish to communicate with their friends. As I said, my school is international. So those are challenges that are not here in the theory. But for me, it will be the two first swimming pool zones, structured and controlled. And for cooperative learning, it's vital that you have clear in mind your plan. Where do you want to start and when do you want to finish? As a teacher and as a student, because I always say I'm part of my class. Sometimes I take the role of a student as well. I sit down with them, I develop ideas with them. So you must have a clear plan of your mind. Everything has to be really structured. Okay, here comes another one of my favorite authors in the world. I have the book here. This is the book where these pages came from. It's by Kath Murdoch and Jenny Wilson, Helping Your Pupils Work Cooperatively. It's very thin, very small, but it's one of the best books I've ever made. And it gives you lots of tips about how to structure and how to work with your students in groups. The first thing is that you have to structure it, as I said, and you have to make clear to the students the role they have in their groups. Because at the beginning, they are not used to working groups. I don't know about you, but mine come wild from early years. So they need to be told which one is their role. And they also need to know what is expected from them, what is the final product. Even though you don't specify it, they need a role and a final product. They need a structure. So they know they are working towards a common goal, a shared goal in between the group. Another thing, apart from structure, is training, consistency, and patience. I said that consistency was going to be another one of my favorite words in the presentation. Cooperative learning and group dynamics don't happen from day to night. They have to be trained and worked day after day. It will be tiring. It will be time consuming. Some days you will think you cannot do it. Some days you will think they cannot do it. But if you are consistent and if you believe in your students, you will get an outcome and it will be amazing. And also, children get tired of working with the same friends, let's say. I mean, all of them are not friends, but they are workmates, they are classmates. They get tired. So you have to group and regroup your children. And you can group and regroup them using several techniques. For example, with sticks, with their names, like randomly. You can group them according to age. If your birthday is in January, your birthday is in March, you can group them according to who has a pet, who has a dog, who has a cat, who has two brothers, one sister, anything. But you have to group and regroup them. Usually, I group them per project, per unit. That means the same group starts and finishes the product they have to reach. And then in the next unit, I regroup the students again. That way, they don't work with the same people. They don't always work with the friends they like. They are forced to work with people they don't like, which is also a learning for real life. Because let's face it, we don't like all our workmates. So we have to work with people we don't like, and we have to put up with that. The images you see are some roles suggested in the book by Kath Murdoch. And I use some of those roles, but I also use roles that I invent. Sometimes my roles represent the learner profile attribute. The thinker of the group is the one that has to look for information. The caring of the group is the one that has to make sure everybody has what he or she needs, and so and so. Or I have the messenger, the one that gets things from me to give to the group, or who tells me the things the group needs. Anything. In one unit of inquiry, I have doctors, nurses, cleaners, it depends. Kath Murdoch suggests these ones, but depending on the age group, as I said, you can adapt it. but they do need a role. Something I said already, children can find it difficult to work in groups. So you have to assign them a role, and here is where the examples came from. Helping your pupils work cooperatively by Kath Murdoch and Jenny Wilson. So this is very important. So the outcome from this theory, role of the teacher, role of the student, working towards a common goal, being consistent, having patience, and a structure. And now comes the fun. Now you're going to see my babies. They are not from this year, they are last year's babies, but they were very cute. So you're going to see cooperative learning in action. I'm going to give you a little, idea of the scenario, and then it will all be very quick. I'm very, very, very stubborn with my words. So the key words: structure, consistency, patience, and please, lots of empathy. We need to understand our students. We need to understand their emotions. We need to understand the point in which they are in, the level they have, the constraints they have, if they have special needs. We need to put ourselves in their place. To be able to teach good cooperative group skills and make learners self-sufficient, you need a plan, as I said, structure, and you need to believe in your students. If you are consistent and you have a structure and you have a plan, but you arrive home and you say, this is not going to work, I'm not gonna make it, this is chaos, I have the worst class in the world, it's not going to happen, because they sense it. They are like dogs. They know you don't believe in them. You must be the first one that defends that the children are capable. So cooperative learning will only happen when you have followed all those steps, being very open-minded and having a down-to-earth attitude. What do I mean with that? Last year, this is the planning I had for last year. This year, I have a more challenging class, and my planning has been made simple because they couldn't reach this level. So I've just made it simple, but they are doing the same stuff. They are making the same stuff, but with simple things. Context: PYP1, 6-year-olds, non-native speakers. It's the jungle. First step: the whole school has to collab with Miss Penny. So the whole school hates me because I have like 46 children, 6-year-olds running around the school for 2 days. The children first work as a class group, but we have 2 classes, that is 46 students running around for 2 days. Director's office, coordinator office, library, dining hall. Amazing, incredible. There you have a photo of them in the coordinator's office because we were studying the systems. And the first step was to understand what was a system. So we had a brain dump, and they had to go around the school looking for systems. So we went into the coordinator's office asking if she could tell us if there was a system around. And luckily, I've been speaking to her before. And she said, yeah, the school is a system. I'm going to explain why the school is a system. We have the headmaster, then we have ourselves, the coordinators, then we have. So she was really nice. She was really collaborating with us. Then we went to the Spanish language class. And as you can see, we were sitting on the floor because we didn't have space. And the Spanish teacher was telling them how language is a system. And they were writing in their little brain dump, language, Spanish is a system because it has this and this and this. So they already had 2 systems. This is the brain dump I used, systems in a school, systems around us. So after this brainstorming and a little introduction, cooperation had to start. I was a guide and I was a facilitator, and I had to set up the groups for the first time in the school year. They had to work in groups. Of course, it wasn't randomly. This time I did it on purpose, and I set up the groups depending on strengths and weaknesses. So the strong ones could support the weak ones. And the weak ones had also something good to offer. For example, they couldn't speak in English or they couldn't write, but they could do amazing designs or amazing drawings. So they were a valuable member of the group. Or they couldn't draw, they couldn't write, they couldn't read, but they were Okay. You're like my kids. You want me to just be silent. How did you play? So what I was saying is that even the child that you thought was useless, to be honest, had something good to offer. He could be really good at getting materials from home and bring them, or he could be really creative at building something. So that also shows children that everybody has something good to offer. And that's also a lifelong learning that they will take forever, and a skill that will last for life. So after this, we made the groups. We gave the groups a name. Of course, we had really cute names. We had the Pikachus, the Pokemons, the Minions, anything they could think about. And negotiation had to start, and they had to write down all the information they had. Here you have them writing down all the information. It was chaos, but it was controlled chaos. It was nice. And then we made a rubric to see if we had really learned and if we had really achieved what we wanted. It was a pre-assessment, and I kept it for me so I could see where the children were at the beginning of the unit. And as you can see, they had to come out with a definition of system, with a list of systems. They had to assess the group work, if the group was working good or was working well, wow, good, so, very bad. And then they're learning. And then to reflect and say if the activity had been easy, had been difficult, feeling safe and feeling confident enough to tell me. That's something you have to gain day after day, that confidence, that trust in you, that they are able to really tell you how they are feeling about the learning. So this rubric was great for when the unit finished, to see what they have reached. There you have them comparing the mind map with the rubric, being really cute. And then after the brainstorming, we had to continue with the investigation, and they were given two options. They could, I call it system project, okay? And I wrote cooperative learning and cooperative work. And they could choose, I gave them two options. The thing is that I made it really structured, as I said, because it was the beginning. It was really, really structured. So the first option was to do a system study and to choose one of the systems they have been seeing and modify it to make it better, or invent a new system. I was a guide, I was a facilitator, everything had a structure. And they had to negotiate. They had to decide and vote, and they learned how to vote. They learned how to put their hand up, count the votes, and reach a common agreement. For example, this group decided to modify a car, okay? These ones decided to modify the way we make a line because it was chaos, and they invented a robot that helped them make a line. That was hilarious. They even brought little microchips for the robot. And this group, which was the start of the day, had really bad group dynamics because they had very different levels. My role changed, and I wasn't a guide anymore. I was a facilitator. They had to work on their strengths and weaknesses, but negotiation became really difficult because they had to assign themselves the roles. This group decided that our school projector was trash, basically. We had to change it. It wasn't working. So they wanted to invent a new one. And they had to bring the materials, they had to put everything together, and they had to make a projector. And they had to decide who was going to be the designer, who was going to write the script, because the final project was an oral presentation. They had to decide who was going to glue, who was going to cut, who was going to ask me if they need anything else. And it really took them a lot. Here you can see how they are progressing. This is the projector. And it has a cable, yes, they took a cable from a real computer, from one of their daddies or mummies or whoever. And this is their little script for the presentation. I'm talking about 6-year-olds who are not English are not American. So this writing is like top 10 for me. You know, this was like, I was amazed. And you have the name. They decided who was going to say each question. So my role changed again. And I was in between facilitator and supervisor. I stepped out and I was just writing and observing. The final product was starting to take shape. And as you can see, students made the script and the group dynamics were completely consolidated. They didn't get on well at the beginning. At the end, they learned to work together. Some of them couldn't stand each other. I mean, that was clear, but they learned how to work together, which is what I wanted. And the final product had to be defended by the members of the group. And you're going to see it, I think.
This is a projector. The important parts are the lens and the box of the Bluetooth. We nada más.
And as you can see, he says, and nada más, like nothing else. But he says it in Spanish because before English was very reduced. And the ones that are holding the projector, are the ones that, sorry, I just have to make this a little, I have to stop sharing the screen and I will start again. Okay. As you can see, sorry, the girl was like the boss. She was the one who was like carrying out the presentation and telling them, telling them what to do. And then two boys were the ones that were most fluent in English. And then the other two were the ones that were holding the projector because they couldn't speak. So everybody knew what to do. And the good thing was that they managed to do the presentation. Oh, I don't know what's going on, sorry. This is driving me crazy. Well, now you know that technology is not my thing. You already knew. And the next thing I want to point out is, okay, I got it. Sorry. The next thing I want to point out is related to challenges, which is the third part of the presentation, but I'm just going to give you a sneak peek because it has some relation with what I'm going to explain. You're going to see here the same text, you know, but a picture of a boy, well, a video of a boy. And I'm going to explain before you watch it why he's alone. We all have different children. We all have children that need different things. And in this case, this child had a special condition. He had autism and he couldn't work with others. So it was a challenge to have a group, a cooperative learning experience with him. I managed to integrate him in the group. I'm just getting emotional because it was really big. I managed to integrate him in the group. He managed to work with his friends. He was very talented. He came from Ireland. His English was fantastic. He was very good at computers and making things like engineering, Legos. You know, he was very a perfectionist. But he didn't want to present with his friends because he said, you know, he didn't like to be with them. He liked to be part of the group because he had to, but he didn't want to present. And you know what happened? As I said before, they realized with time that everybody had something good and great. And they knew that this little boy's English was amazing and that the presentation had to be done in English. So if they let him present alone, they will get more points. So the whole group decided that he could present alone because of his English. And he managed to get the presentation done by himself, which is what he wanted, but with the other one's permission, because the other ones realized it was an asset instead of a difficulty. And I think this is like so big that I get a little bit, you know.
Okay, so Miguel, tell us about the new system for your groups.
The new system is a new type of factory,
Okay.
and it has recycled things and natural things like the sun with the solar panels
Okay.
and electricity from the storms, and the people are firefighters, doctors, and mechanics.
Fantastic. Well done, your group. Well done, the Pikachus. Say hello, Pikachus.
And this was my little victory of the day, you know. Now I'm just moving to the last part of the presentation. Don't worry. It's because, you know, I always have to, I don't know, I think this is what we are here for, you know. It's not only learning, it's not only theory, it's also mental. Well, yesterday, you know, was World Mental Health Day. So I think it's about feelings as well, and about the way we can integrate our little ones. I'm a very sensitive teacher, I think. Okay, so after this, what happens? The final product is finished. We have the class full of junk. The cleaning lady is very angry with me because my class is full of stuff. But we have assessed our oral presentations. The final products have been defended. But we have to assess our group work because we are our own teachers. So we have to make an individual assessment of the group work that Miss Penny will take into account for future groupings and regroupings. So they have to write the group members, the name of the group members. They have to write what they like and what they don't like, and rate the group work with an emoji, of course, because they love emojis. So they circle, they write, and the surprising thing was that they were really honest. You know, they are children. So, for example, they didn't like things like shouting, like people who were bossy, people who were not working. They realize what is working in a group and having people who doesn't do her work, which is real life as well. And they had like a little compromise to improve that in their next group, because they talked to each other. They said, okay, I didn't like this in my group because this and this did this and that. So they had like a common reflection, and that also helped them a lot. And then challenges and adaptations. As I said at the beginning, okay, this is not the Bible. This is just my experience, okay? It's just what I've been through. And probably this year, I will have a complete different presentation. As I said, cooperative learning is more than working with others. It's not putting children in a group and making them make a projector or a car with solar panels or a factory. It's high-level interaction. And usually it has a final product or a final goal, because if you don't give them a goal, they don't have a motivation. As you can see here in the photo, my children are looking at the learning wall. They are looking for information. They are looking for things to put in their project. You can see one of them writing things on a whiteboard. They know that they have to interact for a goal. You need to make adaptations. You need to be flexible. Pupils need to feel at ease with each other. They need to feel confident. And they have to be used to work regularly in groups with others, in different subjects, in different situations. And of course, as you have seen before, you have to take into account children with special needs, children with speech problems, children with psychological conditions. You have to try to find a way to put them in the group because they will have to live socially in the future. And as I said it at the beginning, patience, consistency, empathy. The role of the teacher is the key to be able to attain a successful cooperative learning. You are the model they have to look upon. If they don't see that you are patient, if they don't see that you show empathy with your equals, if they don't see that you are worried about them and with them, it won't work. Teacher role, as I said, is the same as I've been saying all the time. Clear instructions, structure. The teacher has to be a model, guide, facilitator, consistent feedback all the time, feedback, but good feedback and feed forward as well. If they need it, you can join in, you can intervene, and you have to select tasks that the students can do independently, so they feel they are progressing, which is learning by doing. That is connected with the learning power approach as well. And you have to be part of the family, be part of the team, observe, revisit, review, change. You have to spend one summer planning a unit. The unit has to be changed in 1 week. I'm sorry, you're a teacher. You have to change it. You have to have an open mindset. Okay, as I said, you are flexible. You're planning to teach them the 5 senses they want to learn about the heart. Okay, you spend one afternoon finding out things about the heart. Relax. And then you have to trust in them. You have to trust in their ability. Because if you believe in them, they are capable of anything. And that's something I'm not going to argue with anyone. My children are capable of it if I believe in them. I'm sorry. And questions. What have been your challenges? This is food for thought for you, okay? You don't have to answer if you don't want now. But what do you feel have been the challenges? What have you adapted? I adapt everything. And keywords for you as a teacher after what we have talked about. We had 2 questions at the beginning, and maybe now those words you wrote down about cooperative learning have changed a little. Maybe your list is longer, maybe shorter, or maybe it's the same. As I said, I'm only a teacher. I don't have all the answers. I have my answers. And this is the books I've used. And some others, in fact. I have this one, which is quite good. It's called Creating a Learner-Centered Primary Classroom. So you can focus your classroom, on the learners. I will just give you all the titles later. And A Culture of Agency by Lisa Berman, which is also great. Now, I don't know, I have a huge library, but these ones were the main ones. And this is all. Thank you.
Amazing, Penelope. Thank you so much. I learned so much. I'm going to switch us here to gallery view. If you want to stop
Yes,
sharing
please,
your
I'm going to
screen,
stop
then we
sharing
can
my screen.
all see each other. Wonderful. That was such a great presentation. I learned so much. I've literally got 3 pages of notes here.
Really? Oh my
Yes.
God.
And I can start by just telling you how my definition of cooperative learning changed.
Okay.
It changed from a very simple group work, all parties of the group, all children are participating, to
That's great.
actually a place where kids are empowered to take on roles, become leaders in the group, solve problems, figure out how to help each other with different strengths and weaknesses, and become independent learners that are agenic and want to learn and want to be a part of the group, right? So they're simultaneously happening. And that happens when we're consistently being flexible and thinking about our roles as facilitator and guide, and being able to adapt. And all of that works when we trust our children. So you show great trust in your children.
I'm sorry because I'm very passionate about that. You know, they are my babies. I call them my babies, and they don't like to be called babies because, you know, they are 6, they are grown-ups.
Oh, yeah.
But they are my babies. And if you don't trust your children, no, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's the basic. I'm very passionate.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So we have a few people here on the call. Some are not pictured because it's late at night or early in the morning. That's part of our global fun, or just, don't want to be on camera, and that's completely fine. Everybody's
Yeah,
welcome in
no
these
worries.
calls, whether you don't need to be on camera. But let's ask some questions. So you could either unmute and ask, or we could put questions in the chat for Penelope. But what are you wondering? What did she get you thinking about and want to know more?
I agree 100%. Thank you, Andrea. Nice to see
Yep.
you here.
The chat was busy during your presentation, and we were like, yes,
I
we
keep on,
agree. We
I
love
keep on
them
seeing
too.
things pop in, but I was just,
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah, you did wonderful.
I
I
was
love
really
that you
happy I
could focus
could.
that out.
No, I just wanted to go straight to the videos. I was like, please make the videos work. I want them to see my kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was so awesome, Penny. Thank you so much. I loved it. Like, I'm a really big fan and advocate of cooperative learning, and I don't need any excuse to use it for everything in my classroom. But what I really took away from yours is it's not just working together, it's that high level interaction. I love that. Like, it really kind of elevates it from, as you were saying before, Sybil, like just group work to high level interaction, and having these high expectations of what they can achieve with these really clear roles, and that actually you will all be able to do this, you can do this, and working together you can all be successful. That was really brilliant. Like, and I mean, the reason why I especially love cooperative learning in my class is that I teach 3 different year levels in the same classroom. So it's a really wide range of kind of like ability and level. And cooperative learning is so awesome because everyone can contribute in some way and they can all feel successful. Yeah, it's so cool. And I don't know, I loved when I always thought of it as a way, like, you kind of like UDL, right? Like, you put it out there and everyone can access it and it's on the same kind of platform. But you putting it out there, saying that it's really high level interaction and really extending those guys, I hadn't thought of it like that before. So that's really cool. That's my biggest takeaway. So thank you.
Also, taking it at high level interaction makes it more meaningful for the children because they are just not making something. They are making something important, something that matters. So that's what they will take away. That will be their takeaway, and that will be lifelong learning for them. So I think it makes a change, just the way you see it, like seeing that high level interaction makes it more meaningful for them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really,
so
really brilliant.
meaningful. And that motivation allows their brain to actually learn what they're trying to learn, right? Because they're motivated, they're excited. That high level of interaction is so powerful for all of our brains. I love that you brought that out, Meg. I wrote that down. I was like, here's my quote. It's high level interaction. I love that. Such a good way to put it.
Maybe I can get a new tattoo here. High level.
High level interaction.
That would be a good one.
So
yeah,
fun.
I'm happy that everybody found it useful. I'm just happy to share. As I said, it's just my takeaways. It's just my experience, and probably next year I will have a complete different one. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Like, every year is different. So many people ask, like, are always asking teachers, don't you get bored of teaching the same thing every year? And you're like, it's never the same. I wish it were the same. It's never the same.
So true. In some way, it is always not the
As
same.
I said, we plan in summer because we start our year in September in Spain. So we plan in July and then we have August of holidays, you know, 1 whole month. And then you go in September with all your units planned and your children start changing them. And your plan basically goes to the trash. So you're like,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm just going to teach something different.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna have to start from here now.
Yeah.
I do have one question that I'm really curious about, and it's more because this is the situation in my class at the moment, is that I have a couple students who just really, really don't like working with other people. And there's obviously lots of behavior issues that go with it and that, but
Yeah.
like, how do you motivate students that really just struggle to be a part of a group? Because it's not just in the classroom, it's
behavior.
outside as well.
Yeah, it's behavior, you're saying.
Yeah.
Basically, you have to play the role of a mom and have lots of patience and guide them a lot. And you can either make them play the big brother or sister role, that they have to help the others and give them, like, I won't say a boss title, but a coordinator of the group title, but with care and with lots of supervision, so they don't become, like, you know, tyrannical. Because if their behavior is not very good, they can be, you know, too bossy. But you can give them like responsibility, and from there, maybe playing the role of the coordinator, they will feel important and they won't feel they are working in a group. They will feel they are teaching the group. And then maybe little by little, they will realize that the other people in the group are also useful and valuable. But you will need lots of supervision and lots of guidance to break that behavior. And also maybe talk to the parents and tell them what you are doing, so they reinforce that at home. They said, oh, Miss told me that this and this, that you're being very important because you're helping them and you're being the coordinator because you know how to do this and how to do that. Maybe if you give them that importance, you know, they are kids, they love it. So, but
Awesome.
with
Thank you.
lots of supervision, so they don't become too bossy.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
such
Thank
a-
you. That's really helpful.
That's
Good
super
one.
helpful, Penelope. I was also thinking, kind of playing with your words. If you did pick a role, which one would you pick? Right? If they're like, I don't want to pick a role. If you did pick a role, which one would you pick? Or here's 2 roles. Which one do you want? Otherwise, I'll pick it for you. Right? So like limiting their choice, but also playing with our words of like, if you were going to pick one, which one would you pick? Like, you don't have to do it right now, but if you were going to pick one for a month from now, which one would you pick? And that might give you some insight of how you can think about what their strengths are and how that role may or may not serve them too. You know, kids
Yeah.
say, I don't know all the time. So I don't want to be in a group. I don't want to be in a group. Why not? I don't know. I just
I
don't
don't
like
know.
it. Well, if you did know, what would you say? Try it. It works. If you did know, what would you say? It's crazy, but it tells their brain, like, I have to say something. And then they
Yeah.
just do it without thinking about it, right? Because kids can get used to, I don't know, being an okay answer. But if you did
Usually in
know,
the
what would you
first,
say? It's not an
usually in,
okay answer. You have
yeah,
to
yeah,
say
yeah.
something.
No, usually in the first time they work in a group, I give them a list and they have to pick one. And in the list, there is a huge variety. So they always have something they like, because if not, they will all want to be the writer or they will all want to be the one who draws. And then little by little, as you say, you can make questions. But at the beginning, I'm very structured. So I give them a little paper with lots of roles and then a rectangle, and they have to draw themselves as the role they want to, which is quite funny because how do you draw a presenter or a drawer or a writer? But I give them the choices. It's very structured inquiry at the beginning, very, very structured.
Mm.
The first one is always very structured.
Hi, can I jump in here? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, Penny.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Sybil and Megan. It's so good to hear your voice. I see you all the time, but I've never heard you speak.
Yes, yeah, you too. It's so good to
All
connect
right.
with everyone.
So sorry I can't. I'm like lying down. I'm so tired. But anyway,
It's Friday,
um,
don't worry.
so I just wanted to add to everything that you guys have been saying in terms of the cooperative learning. One of the things that I have found that works is that you have to invite I shouldn't say involve a lot of group work in everything. So it becomes almost like a norm for them in every single thing that they do. So not necessarily the unit of inquiry or whatever it is that you're studying in terms of like social studies or science, but in math, in language, even in your circle time activities, when grouping becomes like the norm, then you lessen the pushback you would get from students not wanting to take a role and or be a part of it. And also, as Penny was saying, assign roles and as many roles as possible. Yes, that it's such a huge thing that I have found works. And when you know your students, and that's also key, knowing your students, knowing this one who just loves drawing.
Mhm.
So you for sure will be the illustrator. And then they're like so perked up. And you will always have those principled ones who say, stop doing that, stop doing this. So they could be the managers or the coordinators, Penny was saying. So when you get to know your students and you can say, okay, and you say to them, I noticed that you like writing. I noticed that you like doing this. So I think this role would be so good for you. You are really good at telling time, so you can be the timekeeper, that type of thing. So it's a matter of immersing them in the world of cooperative learning, giving them roles. You will always get pushback no matter what, especially if they're not in a group with their friends. then they are like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But it should just become such a norm and such a comfort, what should I say, a routine that it's nothing. And also if they see teachers doing it, when they see teachers doing it, modeling, yeah, that's a huge thing for them too. I got my students are fifth graders, yes, but sometimes they forget. So in the mornings, they come in, they're supposed to acknowledge each other and say good morning and all of that. And a few mornings it didn't happen. And I was mock upset with them. I said, come on, you're bigger, you should be able to do this and um show the younger ones how to do it. And I said, have you ever noticed the other teachers? And this is what happens every morning. All the teachers, we pop into each other's rooms and we say good morning to each other and we have these kind of chats. So we model it for them naturally so that they do it. So everything that we do has to be modeled and shown and so on. So that's my 2 cents for now.
Love that. Yes, there was so much gold in that answer. Thank you, Andrea. That was awesome. But I love what you ended on, the model. And you're right. That's what we do as teachers, right? I mean, we don't have a choice on if we collaborate or not, and in most jobs, I'd say, especially these days, like they're going to have to work with people, right? There's not many jobs out there where you're totally a sole person. I'm sure people can find that, but yeah, such great points. Thank you so much. And kids can make up their own roles. I did this for jobs in my sixth grade classroom because I was like, how am I going to get buy-in with sixth graders to do like jobs? But I think it's an important part of social emotional learning and them understanding we are a community that we all contribute to. And so we had like the forest coordinator, we had like the Fun Friday game, organizer, whatever they came up with, because not you get the buy-in so much more when they've invented it. And even if they just need to rename the jobs or the roles we give them, right? That just levels up the buy-in and the motivation for them to do the thing, right? And then another thing is like making that really public, like students could even review each other. They could write one positive about somebody in their group, and that can go up on the wall. Joey was a really great leader in our group, 5 stars, and that's just put on our wall of fame of collaboration, right? And it's just one strength, so kids can practice giving those compliments, and it can become public, and then people are going to want Joey in their group because he's a great leader. And who else? You know, if you have a leadership question, go to Joey, or if you have a sketch note question, go to this person, because they're, you know, they've been raved about as doing that role well, right? You can make it fun, can't you? Yeah.
I love
That's
it.
such a cool idea.
Right?
Hello,
Those little
everyone.
things work when you're like with 6th
Mm.
graders, you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get buy-in? And I was this elementary teacher, I'd never taught 6th grade before. At the very end of my career, I am in 6th grade. I'm like, I'm bringing up all my early childhood stuff. It works. When we need it as adults too. That's what I'm doing. My book is SEL for adults, right? Like, it's not just for little ones.
Isn't it
Yeah.
interesting that no matter the age group level, you still find that you have things that are so common across everything? Because no matter how old they are, you still, or young they are, you still struggle with getting them involved and wanting to be friends and cooperating, and it's interesting. So whatever skill you have picked up, wherever you've picked picked it up from, whether you've picked it up from early years or you've picked it up from the high school or whatever, you just have to put it into place wherever you need to put it in place so that it works. You know,
Yep.
I think the saying is that there's nothing new under the sun. So use all that's out there and all that worked in the past, and you know, whatever works.
Yeah,
That's
agree.
I agree.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's just like as teachers as well, if you think about going into PD afternoons or anything, or even when you meet up with other, like network with other schools, and you've got to work on something collaboratively, you'd appreciate having those roles. You'd appreciate having those outlines and all those skills that you learn about when you're a kid, because you always know the person who doesn't do the work, the person who sits back and doesn't contribute, and you're like, I see you, you put your name on here, but you didn't do anything. And
Yep.
like, it's so valuable to learn this from young, from little, that carries on all through life.
That's
It
true. That's
really
so
does.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's great.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Penelope, for an awesome, awesome professional development session. I enjoyed it
Thank
so
you for
much.
having me. Thank you for
So,
having me. That's been great.
so honored to have you. And we're going to put this in the community, in the Teachers Need Teachers school, so people can watch it at their own time and their own way. And I'm going to share out some notes that I took, and we'll just keep working together and as a collaborative in TNT school. So thank you so much value today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Penny. Megan, I can't wait to see the sketch.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yes. Want to see
I'm,
it.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
You're gonna have to wait a while. I'll get it to you after the weekend. You can mull things over until then.
Ooh.